Bing, and we're back. OSL's the name, DBD's the game. Last night we saw Celestial lose 2-0 to Gospel. So it's Gospel that is going to be challenging Luong in the losers bracket next week, which is just so strange to hear both of those teams being placed there. However, we want to find out who will be joining them next weekend. The winner of this series tonight will go head to head with Peony Dynasty for the second match of the losers bracket. It can only be one of two. Scouts or Knicks happening here at 6 p.m. Set 1, Wraith on Dead Dog Saloon. Set 2, Mastermind on Cold Tower 1, and a tiebreaker of Nightmare on the Dead Dog Saloon. Alongside with me tonight is none other than Ghosty. How are we feeling, mate?
I'm excited, Hunter. It's a big day for these two teams and for us and all of our viewers as well. And what a match to start it off with the Wraith. Very nice match to see as well. I've been dabbling in the Wraith a lot lately myself, so very happy to see him being our first set pick of this match of best of three. And all is on the line since obviously we're trying to push off through the playoffs and make that also wanted grand finals. But obviously the loser of this will not be, and we'll go to that losers bracket side. So it's going to be definitely a big battle between these two teams today, and all is on the line. So yeah, we'll have to see if we can get a really banger of a game with the Wraith starting things off, or if it will be just a massive shenanigan game, you know. But very early attack coming through onto, I think it's Null or something, I believe, Mill, and doing the usual hit and run playstyle with Wraith. With that sloppy butcher, what you love to see, not getting the body block onto our A1, unfortunately, but yeah, we love seeing some good old hit and run Wraith and a very textbook build. Not sure how I feel about Bamboozle as much anymore on this map though. You know, it's a very commonly seen thing, but once you've opened up that main building in Shack, I don't know how I feel too much about that anymore, Hunter, even though it's been such a commonly seen pick up for Wraith, but getting a nice little bit of usage out of now denying that Shack window. With it still being up though, but we have so much resources in the Outback area, so a lot for our A's to play for, and really be able to really extend this chase for, and give us our survivors a chance to build up that gem pressure. And I don't know if we've got that usual, very much beloved 3-gen situation in this Outback area, as we haven't quite seen all of our gem locations, but if we don't, best dead spot to be in, obviously, but we'll something maybe taking our down here, all the way out in the Outback, well away from everyone. We do have an immediate pain res nearby, which will chunk back our gens a little bit, but not a bad start for our survivor side and our killer. Very nice early down. Pain res to interrupt one of our 3 split gens that we saw our survivors all splitting, and a nice hook in this Outback area. And it doesn't, oh no, we do actually have a pretty nice 3-gen, even though that gen over on the 6 side would be a bit more wanted for our race, a bit more close to the 7 side, but definitely a nice little gen situation where that hook is. So not a bad hook location, and immediately going into another chase onto our Neo Sultan. A very good start, I think, for the Wraith Hunter, but obviously not the strongest killer in Dead by Daylight. You do see a lot of outs happening, but you do see those 4Ks, so I'm hoping we see some good old 4K action to start things off, but the team is doing quite well to start things off, especially with that pallet stun on the water tower, but that is a strong resource being removed from the trial. But yeah, if we can't get out of this sort of Outback area, this could be a bit detrimental, I think, Hunter, since this is a really nice setup that if you have a hook smack bang in the middle of it, especially being a pain res, definitely could be a very holdable spot to be in.
Yeah, I was thinking about it when you said it was a good death location, and it was as far as generators being worked goes, but unfortunately it is in the midst of a 3-gen, so you do have to eventually leave this vicinity. We are going to be pre-dropping Shack Pallet and trying to make away with the distance we have been allocated towards more central of the map here. Now going to be playing around this 50 carriage pallet, but after losing this mind game, this will just spell the down as we did not get the hit take in time. If we got the hit take, that could have set us up for great success in the long run. However, going to be trying to get an egregious swing at the window there, not quite connecting with L5D because there's not as much ping as their previous matches here on out this time around. It's about 110 apiece for these survivors, potentially even less depending who is playing the set. However, hopping straight into the locker, trying to force the locker is Sultan, but we do not want to pick them out of locker. We're going to be picking up this instead on the pallet. Oh no! And we saw the survivor with the corner of our eye. There's going to be a stun and the survivor off our shoulders, so away we go. It has reset the chase again once more as we do loop around the backside of the top of main again here. I don't think there's a head-on play coming in. It's a nice bluff coming in from Baz, but unfortunately, oh my god, the short swing has just let us last us that little bit longer, but we have interrupted the generator here over at top as well, so let's just put the progression a little bit to a halt for just this moment. Made the tunnel out a little bit longer too, after, you know, getting that pallet stun and just lasting that extra bit longer. Oh my god, the pressure is immense right now, and Yeah, nothing to really aid us. No eruption. We have brought bamboozle, which you pointed out earlier on in the trial, and it tends to be quite an obscure pick. And we've even hopped off the shoulders of LZY because he was really trying to hold that 3-gen by hooking into the middle here over at 7. And all of a sudden, the game is flipped on its head with our tunnel out lasting way longer than what they needed, or what really could have realistically happened. And finally, hopefully, we'll get this second stage on the board, and we've spent a little too much time trying to get our tunnel out. We're even back onto main as well, so if we do look at the last 3 generators left on the map, it is going to be the likes of 5, mid 6, and somewhere else over, more towards middle, I would believe, or somewhere around there. However, getting our rotations in, we see L5D just sitting happy over at main. Sultan going to be taking the chase over at 3, and Mill, the survivor, ready for that pull happening in the background there. 3, 2, 1 does happen. I think it might even be a little too late to start playing for your tunnel outs, but I guess if you can make it happen within the next 20 seconds to 30 seconds, the down is maybe you might be able to just take away the match again, utilize those sloppy butcher tags, and just play amongst the tightest 3 generators, or the only last 3 generators realistically. Going to be whiffing into a whole lot of nothing, and we did not get a tag onto Mill, which is, you've seen LZY do this a little bit too often in this trial here. I think that's about the second or third time he's missed a swing there. Going to be vaulting the window again once more, and we're playing for the last dying remaining stage onto Baz, and that's a hit take coming in from Mill. L5D strapped back on one of these generators, about 50% of the way done. Is it holdable for our killer here, Ghosty? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, no, I think it's a little bit on the rough side since we do also have that gallows gen alongside that corner 5 by the water tower, which is a decent amount of distance for our rates to be having to travel between. And having all 4 survivors up, I do understand, and you do have to try and get rid of someone early, especially with a killer like Race. I think it's costed LZY a bit too much since we weren't able to get it executed quickly enough. So we have all 4 survivors. Our tunnel out will most likely be looking at getting reset so that they're all healthy again. L5D will most likely also be resetting with them, if not stealthing around for a generator as well. There's our tunnel out reset as we take a nice tag onto Sultan. But yeah, this is rough. It was looking okay. We had some pretty quick downs and some decent progress on the tunnel out, but it just got denied with the pallet stun and then being indecisive of where we wanted to get that hook. Obviously, wanted to hook in that 3-gen at the time would have been good, but we lost that 3-gen, and then after that, just add insult to the injury, we just lost our hook as well, making that tunnel out last so much longer. And this is dangerous. So we get no, please no. Another power stun. No, this is devastating. Sultan gets to live again. I swear we're looking at like a bully squad race moment, but this is what you like to see as well. I've seen it quite a bit more actually than what I'd expect, since you do like to play aggressive for those saves, and it can punish a race so much. And that would have been another pain res hook for LZY that's just been denied while our survivors get their progress on our Gallows generator, and it looks like it will be that water tower and Gallows split. So it's looking like problems at the moment. We did have the potential to get a really good result, but with these saves and this how long our chases have been lasting, especially with the tunnel out chase, it's just reverting back down to only 2 stages on the board currently, and another big swing into the air. We managed to connect it back onto Baz this time around, but then he can just run to main, and that's just such a strong resource to play with our survivors splitting our last 2 generators. And if one of our survivors, as I have been before, come in for a hit take as well, that is just a deathly chase to be taking. I think the tunnel out was a good shout, but maybe Freshers was the play a bit sooner on, because we only got 2 stages at the moment with all 4 survivors up, and we're on to our last gen of the trial as well. Sultan back in chase, so at least we have an injured survivor to chase around now, which is what you want. And not getting the down, unfortunately, getting a pallet on 2 very nice fields to play as well, and LZY does not want to go, but we didn't have enough time. The chases are lasting long enough for these gens to pop, and that one by Sultan was just enough for Baz to pop Mill to pop the water tower gen. Getting our tag onto Mill, though, this is what we need. We need to try and get at least one more of these fresh hook survivors to at least get those extra 3 stages on the board. Bamboozle coming into play to shut down Shaq and Mega so that Mill has to run all the way out towards the outskirts of the Outback. But we are winning the 50, though, which is good. This is where we maybe get some stages back on our side, but in saying that, we still have all 4 survivors in the trial, so we could be getting our gates open, get our resets on play, and from there, make sure we get some hit that come. Oh, okay, this is where problems come through. That miss and one could potentially deny LZY the hook onto Mill at basement. It's going to be so close. I went to 99. No, we were so close to losing another hook as well, but we managed to secure Mill into the basement, and that's probably the best place you want to survive right now, to make it as hard as possible for our remaining survivors to get that body out of the basement and out the gate. But Oh, okay. I was about to say we are getting our resets, but we have caught out the reset on the backside of main. Problems team. This is actually where we make a bit of a recovery, and as you were mentioning, Hunter can get a little bit of like some snowball happening. Another hook on the trial for L5D, and that's another one for LZY. We interrupted the reset onto Baz as well, so unless they just go for a one-for-one trade down in the basement, this is where we are making a bit of a recovery now because it was looking incredibly rough for LZY, but at least we're clawing back a few extra stages here and a few more freshers at least, but with 4 survivors out, it's going to be incredibly difficult to get at least a kill with so many bodies left alive. 2 injured though, which is what you love to see. If Sultan does manage to last here with 4 some resets, we could look at potentially sending Baz down to the basement and try and get a trade for that extra stage denial, well, extra 2 stages denial. And it looks like that is what our soldiers are trying to get done real quick while Sultan has a bit of a chase. But we've missed a skill check, so we have alerted LZY to where we are currently located. So doesn't seem like we've tracked it down just yet, though. It looks like we're more prioritizing just securing that at least minimum second stage onto. Never mind. We have lost all of our hook stages that night. I must have been blind and not realizing that we've already got that hook basement undone. So hopefully we can get another first fighter down, but Baz will be taking it down for Mill. And now it's just can Mill make it out the gate. We have Sultan fully healed up. Looks like we may be getting a reset, yes, onto Alpha D as well, but we get hit through the pallet. That is a bit of a tragedy right there. But honestly, Hunter, considering we were looking at only 2 stages literally like 2 minutes ago, the fact that we've gotten this many stages back on the board is a very nice recovery for LZY.
Yeah, definitely, and it really shouldn't have been the case. However, he has been fortunate enough to walk away with more than what it was looking like. At tops, if they just left the last survivor to die, it would have been 5 stages as to opposed to the 6 you see on screen right about now. Um, all in all, a really good match played by the serves throughout the whole entirety of the trial. You did see them just have incredible chases and dying on pallets twice to preserve the tunnel out both times around and just set themselves up. It was such a good game in the long run. And LZY, I think it just comes down to the basics. Missed a little too many of his swings, caught a little bit too many bluffs that weren't actually bluffs, and lost his 50s. And ultimately, it's what you get, unfortunately. You did see over at main, I think this was like a big blunder over in his tunnel out. He did not slug and go for the survivor to sit and pretty in there ready for the pull. And ever since then, it was just rinse repeat scenario of probably just the everlasting spiral into tilt. And yeah, he probably wasn't really happy with himself, which is probably correct in how much of you could see the frustration in his like gameplay. He wasn't happy with the way that the match was being played out, and he was trying to accommodate for it for playing extremely aggressive through the pallets and around the pallets and going for monkey swings that just weren't really connecting. However, he is just sitting around the middle of the map after getting that down onto L5D, and our survivors are coming in hot for the save. Everybody nice and healthy, and this is completely doable. You have one person take the hit, one person go for the unhook and get hit while unhooking, and then the other one just around for the protection hit. But as we do go for a preemptive swing here, this is 2 survivors left in the trial who will just be able to get this pull for free. One losing health state just about now, and one having the endurance status effect, and we're trying to block them before the doorway here. You got to be very peepo fat if you are LZY. He's trying to play around the endurance mind game, but it does not work. Just being able to last that little bit longer for 5 to be done in the background. Then we lost sight of everything. We thought there wasn't as much pressure on the map as there actually was, and that hurt us in the long run. But we're going into the next match here on out, and they're looking for a 5-stage win condition. Our serves and our killer's looking for a 7-stage win condition. It's going to be Mill on the killer, which we don't typically see. You know, we saw Macro and we saw L5D usually take up the killers here, but good to see some rotation. And what can Mill pull out of the hat as he does get the M1 tag onto Cam very early on in the trial. Going to be breaking these top doors to get the main up and running and a little bit more accessible to us. We do drop down from the top ropes and continue on the chase into the middle of main, where we do have the window to be utilized. However, we will not be able to make anything after vaulting it, so we've opted to go for the far window. Again, not having enough distance to really make anything of it. It's going to be a very quick early down for, 30% of a generator at the moment, which is probably going to be regressed if we do get that Pain Resident sitting happily over at 9. Not the kind of chase you want when you're chasing up 5 stages here, Ghosty. I'll be real with you.
Yeah, no, that was an incredibly quick chase, and then a pain res to boot as well. Definitely not the start you're wanting when you only have those 5 stages to really play for. It's for your win con, but obviously this is the very start of the trial. Not the greatest starting down, as well as the death spot wasn't probably the greatest, since we are right next to the Outback 3 gen and a loose 4 gen with that water tower gen, but this is a very nice. Actually, hold on, wait. We've also got Mister as well. We've got like a majority of our gens all on the bottom side, so this is a bit of a diabolical setup, but as we mentioned before, Hunter, we have done a bit of a perk swap out as well. We have got that Eruption in play instead of Bamboozle, so it's good to see Eruption back in play because this, let's be real, even without the Incapacitated, it is just such a good perk. Multiple gens worth of regression, information if survivors are still working on it. It's just a staple for competitive slash, I think, just for killers for most parts in Dead by Daylight. I'm very shocked when I don't typically see it, but it is back in our pocket. And yeah, we are getting some good progress on the generator. We are switching over to our Nancy to rotate, trying to get out of this sort of area and allow for some resets to come through, since we now have 3 injured survivors with Sloppy Butcher on play as well. Going to be a bit on the back burner at the moment, since we do only have those 4 stages to play for at the moment for our WinCon. Obviously, there's Tycon and all that, but we are getting a nice little pop on the main building, which means that this loop is now fully just free for our survivors to play for. But with that pop coming through, we do obviously allow Mill to find not only our Nia, which is probably not the survivor we're wanting to be back in chase again, but also a free tag onto Lyriel as well. So all 4 survivors injured. This is where things get a little bit dicey, because that's not what you want against any killer, especially one like Race that can just use Sloppy to really buy time and make things painful for the survivors. And Cam, unfortunately, will be biting the dust over on the one side as well. But this is a good distance away from all our generators. This is a much better death spot, what we were wanting to see and what we were seeing in that preview as well. This is going to allow us to get some progress building up on these bottom side generators. And Mill's in a good spot still being, though. We've got our Deathlock Survivor at 4 generators remaining. Only need 4 or 5 more to get that win condition. So still with 4 gens remaining, we're in a pretty good spot. Scratch that, 3, but in saying that, that's not the gens we were obviously worrying as much about, since it's not our nice 3 gen in the Outback area. So much better death spot from Cam, not lasting quite as long as probably what we would like it still, but that's still a much better position for a death, so that we're not interrupting our generators and allow our unhooks to be a lot more freer. But in saying that, for 3 unhooks, LZY coming in for the unhook, but it is going to be a trade. I don't know if this was actually a pain raise either, so no. But we've got one literally mid-street, so our pain raise RNG is also paying off in our favor quite nicely. Really good hook location for our pain raise, so that we have second one being used. And we can sort of just now go back to our Outback 3 and just check on our generators, or find a chase immediately. This is looking problematic. We haven't got resets in. Our tunnel out cam is now back in chase as well. And we've got 3 stages on board, Hunter. It's looking a little bit scary, but not for Mill, I'd say. For our survivors, especially with a big uncloak swing like that, my god. Death at 3, Hunter. I don't know how I feel about this.
No, it's just not really workable, unfortunately. It will be our tunnel out gone as well, and everybody in this trial currently injured. I don't even think they get that generator over at 8 done. Mill knows it, closes in here, uncloaks, nowhere to really run but the pallet that zones you into the corner of 8 anyway. What do you do from here on out? Pallet goes down, which is the other resource you can make, because there's nothing here over at 7. You're just trying to fight for your life over at the carriage, but there's way too much distance between you and the pallet there. You are going to be going down before making it, and the survivors are caught here just trying to go for the longest reset. A Sloppy Butcher is taking away their health at the moment, and that's going to be a stage in the middle of everything. The most progressed generator, the second most progressed generator, and it is their win condition here. They cannot give up any more stages from here on out. With 3 generators to go, it's looking pretty grim. What would need to happen from here is what I always like to ask, and it would take a chase that lasts a little too long than what realistically should happen. We are going to be forcing the medium vault there and the tag over the window, so the reset is all for naught, but at least you're not down in main, so you got to give them that much. However, we've spent a little too much time in the rotation, and I don't think we're going to get the pull untouched in time. Unfortunately, wait, we've swung into the survivor coming off to a hook, as to oppose the survivor going for the pull, and it's not the 1-for-1 trade when it should have been. However, it's still looking pretty in favor of Mill. Even though you got everybody out of that area at the moment, it's still pretty hard for them to be working with. This is the final stage he is looking for, as he does take his mind games around. Actually, it'll still be just the tie condition. They can give up one more stage, but it means that they won't take away the set. Gonna be swinging over the fence there, trying to connect with a nasty looking hit, but to no avail. That will be Lyriel just going down and straight onto the hook with still 3 generators remaining as our killer does traverse into the middle of the map. He is moving more towards 9, trying to cut off that rotation coming in from Maya, who's just ran back into main and now going to be using the windows, top window, even bottom window. Where do you go after you vault 1? There's not really much. The killer is way too fast, blocking you from the pallet over at the toilet. An egregious swing through it does not quite connect. Still looping around the long side. Pallet's still up. We go down just before, and that's a nasty looking ping hit. I will say that. I will give them that. I will give Maya that, but what they will not get is the win this time around. 7 stages will be going all towards Scouts, and Nyx still trail behind on their own pick. This is not the story that you want in this area. However, Mill now still forever in search of that 4K. Literal hopping on a generator that's about 25% of the way done. All in the meantime, 13Y has to make a rotation off in the edge map somewhere to get the pull unharmed. But unfortunately, we've even sniffed them out over at 3, and now we're playing the carriage over at 1. But we have to win all kinds of 50s if we're going to last this that little bit longer. We are just currently fighting for the last generator for 4K too, I would say. I say that Caster's Curse, Literal's hopped off the gen and realized that he has to go for the save because you kind of got to keep Maya up in the game alive. And what a chase to do that. 13Y going to be winning all kinds of 50s amongst the greed after coming in and out of the cloak is Mill. Still not connecting with the swing. That's a nice looking stun coming in over at 1. We're going to be breaking that pallet too and commencing the chase back over towards the corner of 1. Really forever in search of that down now. Do we make the tile over at 2? We do, but we're going to have to play our 50s and win them. We don't. We get hit straight after it. And Mill in that power position is able to slug this and go for the reset happening over towards the hook. However, we have gone for a 1-1 split straight back on the generator over at 8. Does go Maya, and our Jake Park Literal is going to be taking chase around the main building. However, with 1 survivor on the floor at the moment, it is looking still pretty grim. You're probably just playing for the last generator. If you're going to be going back up for the picks, it's just going to be rinse, repeat. And a nice little jiggy there over at the pallet and just baiting out the swing. Is going to let Literal just last a little bit longer over at mid. However, he's going to be going down after vaulting that pallet shortly. And Maya has picked up on the fact that they're going to be cut off from the rotation if they were to go for the pickup. So they have opted to go for their last generator over at 7. Mill going to be taking that hook over into mid. Following up here is going to be the last chase of the trial. Mill coming out of that cloak there. And here is Maya just sitting around the stairs, looping it around for the 1 time. Does not utilize the window into Shaq. We've missed the swing over at the outside of 8. And still back into that cloak, breaking that pallet there. My God, Mill has played a tremendous game right about now. 4K2, pretty much chopped, done and dusted. What do you think, Ghosty?
That's definitely not the expectations I was really thinking for a race, especially with the performance we saw in the first game of our race set, with the beautiful work from our survivors really punishing our killer with the pallet stuns and the general really good chases. The chase from 13Y at the end over at 1 was what we needed much earlier on. If we had a few more chases like that, I think that it could have actually been very much doable for our survivor side of Nyx, but Mill out on fire, taking away their, as you mentioned, Hunter, their set pick, which is a bit of a scary thing to think since we're going to be transitioning into Scout's pick after this as well. So yeah, that's a very scary position to be in. You're down 1 set and you're going into your opposing team's set pick as well. We're going to need to see the backburners put onto 11.
Welcome back to the set. This is going to be Wraith, actually, the second part of this series. So second set, obviously, it's going to be Scouts up this time around first on the killer, with the survivor team of Nyx being, I think, 13Y, Literal, Maya, and Cam. Actually, the game is on my screen and for some reason was not appearing. My bad. However, going to be spawning over at the bottom side here, going to be walking over towards the middle, taking the break onto that door there and just making main a little bit more accessible for our killer very early on as per usual. And you do see 13Y and Cam very nearby, sitting happily over towards 9. And Maya now going to be probably commencing the first chase over here at 1. We've even found Lirial in the same time as he does take the chase around to the main building as the pallet does go down. It's going to be our car filler gone nice and early. And it was in a prestigious location for us to be utilizing. So After that, taking that break, L5D going to be going straight back onto Maya, who tried to rotate from 3 during that time. We did not continue to chase onto Lirio. We are going to be breaking this pallet here over at the eye filler. Now trying to zone them here with the dashes coming in, but not quite connecting, so it's allowed Maya to get that distance and just buy themselves main building as well. L5D just caught at a loss over at 3 momentarily as he does divert and go for something a little bit more in his favor. He spots 13Y and Lirio over at the water tower, and this is going to be probably the second or third chase around this time. However, we've opted to leave entirely and go for Cam1, who's sitting over at 6, and that's Shaq gone. So that's going to be thrown in our face, and Cam1 has made all that distance towards 5. Again, L5D opting not to chase this, but I dare say his next chase is going to have to be something he commits, as we got a 4 split across the entirety of the map. Maya trying to sneakily work underneath our nose, the killer that is the building over sitting in towards the middle of the map there, and it's the one just sitting out over at water towers. The pallet does go down on this loop just in the middle. We're going for some fancy flicks potentially. He's backed up there with the power in hand, connecting with a nice set of dashes, and that's going to be the slam into the fillers there. Maya gonna have to be utilizing 10 now and opting not to go for main. Pallet goes down, vaulting over it. Do we make a round for the M1? We don't. Do we win the 50? We do. No, we don't. We do. And we've swung into a whole lot of nothing. Maya put on the jets right about now. Do we make the pallet? No. If we greeted at that time, I swear I would have jumped out of my chair and threw it out my window, as Peaches likes to say. But look at all of that pressure happening over in the background. You have 2 generators ready to pretty much pop. You have that one over at 9 that's about a couple seconds away, and there it is. It's more towards 8. I do apologize. However, that one's sitting over in the distance somewhere. I don't even know where this is on the map. It looks like 3. I want to call it 3, but it's over in the edge map right-hand side. As we do take that hook there, we are going to be traversing with our power prepped up and ready to just interrupt that generator that I was talking about moments ago. However, we've caught a rotation instead. We've scared the survivor off the gen momentarily. It's going to be 13Y in chase now over at the main building. Does elect to greet the window and does win the 50, wins through the pallet too. And then we finally vault the window there to our liking. However, we have not bought ourselves enough distance. Oh, we lose so much of it after dropping from the building. Lol jokes, it's balance landing, baby. And he's away over towards 1. L5D in the middle of the map again once more, forever in search of that next chase, as he does take the break over this generator, sitting happily outside the water tower. It has reset the game for him just a little bit. Now, as per build, he does have Corrupt Intervention, which is obviously gone. He has Brutal Strength for that zone breaking and Pain Resonance, as well as Eruption to hold on to his generators. He does see Maya here over at the Shack building, trying to bait out the window vault there, but not quite doing so in the way that they had thought. We are going to be grabbing them and slamming them into the corner of the Shack for the second stage, as we do get another generator popped in the background. It honestly is looking very in favor of the survivors right about now if they can uphold and maintain that pressure here, Ghosty.
Yeah, no, considering we went from the start of literally finding pretty much everyone just one after the other, but not really committing to a chase early on until we did go for that full stand commitment onto Maya. Definitely in a good position and a favorable position still, especially with Epic right next to one of their high progress gens, still having that top side 3 gen, even though probably not as holdable for a killer like Wesker. As are in a very comfortable position. Obviously, could be in a little bit better if we weren't hooked as far on the top side, but still, we have managed to get our rotation to get the arm help, but we will be copying a tag. Lirial now infected an engine, not able to really help Maya out much longer, so we're just going to have to try and last as long as we can to make this chase last. But we also see 13Y coming in for a bit of support for Maya as well, not wanting to let that goes through too quickly. What we probably would have liked to see a bit more of in the race set, so it's good to see it in our Western set, even going through and taking it down for Maya, but we're not going to pick that up, even though it would be another pain res. We also did hear Eruption proccing, I would assume, on the Water Tower gen, but L5D wants Maya. We want to remove a survivor from the trial at 3 and make it the 3v1 as quickly as possible, but we're winning all of the 50s. Winning of that 50 makes it so Maya can send it all the way back down towards Shaq. Not having Shack Pallet anymore to use, but we are getting caught up on the rocks, so we can do a bit of a little jiggy back up to the 5 tile and play for that pallet once again. Do we get the big thing? No, we don't make it to the pallet. Even if ping was not a thing, we will be going down, but we are getting our resets in. We are getting progress on our water tower gen once again, and we don't have pain res to interrupt it, so we may actually end up popping it before L5D can make it back if he chooses to do so. But it looks like we may have actually caught out where the reset was, so we are going to actually be able to pop that water tower gen, but we also get our reset through as well, so we will be going into that 3v1 still, unfortunately, but I believe it will be momentarily at 2 gens remaining since we weren't interrupting. I believe it was Cam on that gen, so actually it might have been Lirial, because I believe Cam was on the reset with 13Y, but 13Y having that health state up is a very handy thing to have unless the infection does come into play, because once you're infected, you're basically just insta-grabbable, might as well say insta-downable. Nice fake on the 2-tile as well. Playing the double window very nicely, but we are getting grabbed through it just before the red goes through. That was almost an insta-grab. If L5D was just a second later, that would have been a bit of a tragic moment, because that would have been just a grab straight onto a Pain Race hook and off to the races once again. But we are red now, so we are suffering from that hindered status effect until we spray. But you're not going to be spraying while in chase, I don't think. So we're just going to have to play with that 4% hinder for as long as we can. Maybe try and get some extra jam pressure on the board, or if our survivors opt to try and get that reset onto Lirial. Managing to dodge the bound with basement as well, but I don't think with that hinder we'll make it to the window. We don't. But this is still a great spot to be dying once again. Down the bottom of the map, while we have 2 gens, both with high progress, unless L5D can make it to a Pain Res, we will be at 1 gen remaining, because I don't think we're going to be able to stop one of these 2 gens from popping, but we might be able to stop the second. It's going to be so close. The 4th gen does pop, and I think we do just in time interrupt the final gen from popping. But look at its progress. It is such high progress, and we have that spare slow that can be rotating down for that unhook as well. So we're in a relatively good spot, but hold on, I think we've just found our injured survivor and infected survivor of Lirial, who was also red, already hindered, and can be grabbed immediately. Okay, hold on, we may be in a bit of a bad spot. Thankfully, we do get the unhook onto 13Y, but this is a bit of a interesting situation, since we wouldn't have liked to have been in chase, but Lirial getting caught out there while infected is just wrong place, wrong time, and a nice hill hook right next to, I believe, the gen that was the most progress as well, unless it was more further down, but I'm pretty sure, yes, it was this 10 gem, which was the second high progress gen that our survivors were splitting before, so not the greatest spot to be hooked, especially on a hill. So hopefully 13Y is going to be able to stealth. We are working on a shack generator, but if they don't get found, this will be really good and allow our Cam to rotate up and get out on hook onto Lirial and get our survivors all back in the game. Sending it early, very good. Cam wanting to get Lirial off the unhook and try and get him back into the game. We haven't also checked down towards Shack, so 13Y is able to put pressure on it for free, as L5D does rotate back up to the map to try and stop a reset from happening and keep the pressure going that we've got going. Because if we caught out Cam after that finding on Lirial, that could have been really bad, and it could have actually secured a 4K1 or 4K0. But Painrez coming in a bit of clutch there, denying that the 5th gen popping as well. So can Lirial last long enough? No, we don't drop the pallet. I think Ping may have also been in play with that as well. Gotta love it sometimes, but this will be second stage onto Lirial. We've got good progress on the shack generator as well. So Cam working away at it on the bottom side. Oh, sorry, top side. 13Y working on the bottom side. One of these gens is guaranteed to pop, and it looks like 13Y is going to be pretty stealthing away as Painrose does come in and hits the shack generator. So we are rotating down to the bottom side, so we don't have interruption for Cam, who can potentially pop that last gen and at least make it so it's no matter what, a 4K0, as long as 13Y can last long enough, which we don't have a health state, unfortunately, but we don't have the infection to worry about at the moment. Another beautiful window fake as that 5th generator does pop, allowing Cam to now rotate, hopefully for an unhook, but we do get the down onto 13Y, so it's going to be who gets there first. L5D already on Cam as he rotates for the unhook, so we will be taking a trade. It looks like it may look like being a 4K0 at this point, since we do take the down onto Cam, and I don't think Lyria is going to have much to play for or get their final survivor back into the trial. So well played by our survivors to make it a 4K0 at least, but unless we get some crazy gameplay at the moment, Hunter, I don't think we're going to be recovering from this, since this will most likely be our last chase. But my goodness, what a game so far to start the West Cassettes.
I get the sentiment of wanting to get that last generator done as soon as possible, but I feel like if they played it a little bit more patiently and still got the unhook over at 4, we probably would have been better off, even because we took chase over towards that generator anyway, which was, sorry, 13Y, yeah, over at more towards 8. That's all in hindsight, because hypothetically, if we did that and still got the down onto 13Y, we could put the pressure back onto 10 via the slug, get the pickup hook onto the generator there, and then it's just a matter of what are the 2 survivors who are sitting over at 5 doing. Are they resetting, or are they going for a 2-2 split again, which can particularly snowball with, you know, Shack only about 70% of the way done. Maybe this was the best possible result for them, who really knows, but it is still a very good one, 4K0, you know, with the tunnel out fairly early, to be honest. Like, what, 4K2, 4K3 it was, somewhere around there. These survivors in the last 3v1 played really, really well. However, yeah, you got to give credit to Maya and their chases, particularly their second one that actually went on. you'd have to be very pinpoint exact and try to predict that. However, it's just easier said than done. But moving on into this match, we have Scouts on the Survivor, Nyx on the Killer. What can we pull out of the hat this time around? LZY, the man for the job, and he has been the renowned Wesker main for Nyx throughout Season 6. And no, he's put some good stages. I think 8 stages was the last time I saw him play, but he needs 4K1 at the moment to pull his team back for the 1-1, where we'll be going to the Nightmare and Dead Dog Saloon, and that will make for a very good match. However, we are going to be commencing the first chase here over towards 9, greeting that pallet into the filler of this chase over at 8 into 9, left edge map, really, but going to be dropping it and dropping it like it's hot. Thrown into a whole lot of nothing is our Adam, Baz, who, yeah, takes the infection rate, but unfortunately doesn't even make this pallet after being thrown. Gets slammed, and that's going to be the first injure we do have in the background. I believe that is a triple on one generator, which tends to be very controversial between a lot of people. But if you can manage a good first chase with what we're seeing right now, which is what we're seeing right now, then it's definitely why do I speak? Why do I speak? He's gone down. However, it's enough time to get that generator done. There's not as much pressure dispersed on the map, but Corrupted Intervention's gone after that chase, so you know what? The triple was definitely the right call. Now they can go for their 1-1-1 split on the last hook here over towards 12 onto Baz and hopefully pray for a low stage game. However, that will prompt the Killer to want to leave this entirely and now chase for somebody who's going to be doing said game plan, as we do see in the background a rotation over towards 9. The hook is back 12, so we can spot out the crossroads over at 9 and 3, edge map left and edge map right. We are going to be following over at the T and vaulting the window for the one time, looping around the spot where there is a check spot. Oh, hello there. He's just peeked out his head just a little bit, and that's going to result in the tag as we lost the 50-50 mind game. Mill's going to be taking, again, the Killer towards 9, and LZY doesn't want anything of it. Sees the unhook happen in the background, knows that Mill hadn't been working the generator, and if you're rotating for the pull, that's even less progression on the map, so he's happy to go for his tunnel out as the tag does come onto our near Sultan. We are going to be still looking for Adam Baz, who's just sitting over towards backside 12. And just utilizing this car filler that we saw last game that was dropped fairly early on as well. So life coming into full effect to aid us just a little bit in this chase here. And it's allowed us to actually loop around the car for once more, as opposed to playing the 50s at the pallet. And it's opened up the window nicely for us, which is chained into 10 if we can manage to work around with the pallet this time around. LZY gonna be playing around the mind games around what was once greeted and hit through, but like clockwork, same time around. This is another pallet. This is the same pallet that we lost, and it's a second down onto our Adam here, Baz, who's going to be picked up and hooked over more towards the backside of the map again. And this is just corner 11. This is top left-hand corner. We do have some nice progression in the background, but that's a pain resonance hook. So it's going to slow down the likes of 6, and we do have 9 being worked. Sultan going to be rotating around just edge map right, 3-hand side, but does get caught out in an unsavory position. It's going to force one of the survivors to go for the pull. Now, do we have enough time for L5D to get that generator done at 6 and get the pull in the background? We're going to have to rotate onto Mills gen, and Mills going to have to preemptively leave and go for the pull. And look at that. We've done exactly what I just said. The chase has lasted long enough for Mill to hop off that gen, go for the pull, and L5D to make that rotation straight back onto 9. And we're swinging into a whole lot of nothing, and LZY getting a little bit panicky now, might have to leave this chase, and does so quickly with haste. Wants his tunnel out. Is there any funny business that's going to save our tunnel out in the background? Who really knows? But I don't think there will be. You just kind of have to last. Play in twos if you can. I don't really know. The game plan needs to be weighed up from the survivors. What can they pull out of the hat? We see our survivor there, our Felix, just looking at our Killer ever so menacingly as he does break the likes of outside 10. We are going to be slapping the 11 pallet in his face, buying us some distance with smash hit over towards the middle of the map there. We're going to be greeting the once drop filler, and the 10 filler is still up and available to us. However, we have lost sight of our tunnel out. LZY still looking. Where did Mr. Tunnel Out go? Where did Baz go? Where did our Adam go? He's just made it away into the bottom half of the map, to where LZY now just stuck over at 2 and is forced to chase something a little bit different. It's going to be Sultan here. Is Fresh is injured. So if we can get this pain resistance to slow the game down very quickly, it's going to aid us. And exactly that. We do slam them into the rock. The likes of 1. Where's the pain resistance? Nowhere to be found. It's over at 11. Do we make it, or do we opt to go for the hook over at 12? We're really pressing for that hook over towards 11, but we've had a last sudden change of heart. over at backside 12. We do manage to just hook there. 3 stages to our name at the moment as we do take the chase onto L5D. We just loop around this 9 dropped filler here. We see in the background, I think that was a reset before Baz hopped on their generator. 1 dash, 2 dash, not connecting there over at 9 still. L5D playing the 50-50 mind games here over at the pallet. Does win every single one of them and goes into the L over at 8, and the unhook happening in the background coming in from one of our sneaky survivors there. And I do believe that would have been Mill as we were chasing L5D just a little bit earlier ago. Or was it Mill that we were chasing? I can't even remember. It's a little bit too high octane this set. Oh my. 3 stages at the moment and we're still looking for that 4K one. It is still doable for LZY, but I would say he needs his tunnel out and he needs it now. And we found somebody here over at Shaq. It is our tunnel out and we're going to be vaulting the window, winning it just before getting tagged there, vaulting it over with the power once more. Blinding coming in. No champion of light to help us this time around, but we have no light. Dodging 1 dash, dodge the other. He's baited it out, caught the bluff, sweep through the pallet, nothing, nobody home. Baz gonna be looping around the pallet gym once more, gets caught out, thrown into the edge map over at 5. What can you make do from here on out? Loses collision with the killer, loops around back to the pallet, sitting here happily over at 5. The long pallet gym, and we've greeted it entirely, but there's nothing to our name anymore. We've been thrown into a tree in the background. You do see L5D, and there's actually 2 generators ready to pop. So the double is going to be stopped momentarily for the pain resonance to be taken into effect. But there's no pain resonance, actually. This is our only pain resonance survivor. However, we need to manage to hold on to the generators here, but I don't think we have enough time to do so. The double coming in straight in front of our killer's face, and it's just happened simultaneously. I think both generators popped at the same time. I hope that wasn't me just being stupid and I completely forgot about the one popped in the background. But for our killer to now take away the set tie, as we can't take away the win, everybody from here on out would need to die, would need to be out of the trial, and it just doesn't look likely. L5D, 75% of the way of his exit gate done over at 12. We're thrown into the car there. Actually, we didn't even hit the car, and it's been opened before us, and that will be the stages we need out the door. That will be the game done and dusted. It will be Scouts taking it away 2-0, Ghosty.
My God, what a mid to end game. It was looking a bit controversial, as you mentioned, Hunter, with that 3 stack at the start. Most teams are not